Cheap and highly addictive synthetic drugs are hitting the streets again, and local police are reporting bizarre, even zombie-like behavior among users. And while COVID-19 has racked up an unbearable death toll, here's another staggering figure. In the first 6 months of 2020, 86 people died of opioid overdoses. That's up 44 from the same period in 2019. Now, if that pace continued, Onondaga County could exceed the record of 142 overdose deaths in 2016. We won't know the end-of-year totals until April. I recently caught up with DeWitt's police chief, who's very troubled by this other big health issue impacting our community.
We look at our numbers, we're responding to more calls for service in regards to overdose, and they're pretty consistent with the county numbers as a whole. We distributed twice the number of naloxone vials that we distributed during 2019, our year-to-date in 2020. So we're experiencing the same things. We're going to an increased calls for overdose complaints, and we're dealing with individuals who are, suffering major health issues because of it at twice the level compared to 2019. I think that some of the calls that we're seeing are individuals who are already suffering from addiction and utilizing different substances, different synthetic drugs than they have been utilizing in the past, and that is leading to an increased number of medical-related overdoses.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that because we understand the heroin supply may also have been impacted because of the pandemic. So you have seen an increase in other drug use?
Yeah, our synthetic drug use and synthetic overdose has absolutely gone up. A lot of the individuals we're interacting with, they referred that they're utilizing Molly, which is a word for MDMA or ecstasy, but that when we test the substances, that's not exactly what they're using. I think a lot of individuals actually don't know what they're ingesting. They are taking synthetic drugs because that's what they're able to get, and their bodies have developed tolerances to more pure forms of heroin, and when they take this quantity of a synthetic drug, that is what's leading to the increased overdose and deaths.
And also has led to some bizarre behavior, we understand.
Yeah, we're seeing individuals who are just having, severe, strange behavior reactions to these synthetic drugs that they're taking. Officers are sometimes describing the behavior as almost zombie-like behavior. Instead of individuals staying sedentary after they take the drug, they're getting up, they're moving around. They're not seeing the world as it is presented normally. And so they're interacting with both their neighbors, they're interacting with the police officers in that manner, hallucinogen and psychoactive ways.
And not violent, but just strange, or violent too?
I think anytime that you're not really seeing reality and you're dealing with a psychoactive substance, that the potential for violence is there. A lot of our calls, we're getting called at the end of the situation when the person is often experiencing a medical emergency, and that's why an increase in our naloxone usage and things like that. But anytime you're dealing with individuals who are having hallucinations and currently run the risk of violence.
And your officer described it as almost zombie-like. Let's say you see something like that. What should a person in DeWitt do if a neighbor sees this?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we want to get out to the neighborhood is if you're seeing behavior where an individual is clearly under the influence of a substance, just call 911 immediately. Give the 911 dispatcher the information that you have, and they'll make a determination. Is it a police or an ambulance, or oftentimes it's both. We need both police and medical services to go to these calls to get the people the help they need. So, do not hesitate to call 911 when you're seeing the strange behavior.
Any other reflections on what the community needs to do to address this issue?
Yeah, I think always that it's something we've seen consistently is we need to take a hard look at mental health funding and mental health treatment, funding for mental health as well as addiction services. There is a large overlap there. Oftentimes individuals can use both those services, addiction services and mental health services. So we definitely have to take a look at a community is, do we have the appropriate funding stream for these services? And the other thing I just would encourage family and friends is, if you know that you have a loved one, a friend or a family member going through these, take the effort, call 211, make some referrals for addiction services, and be proactive, get the people the help that they need.
Onondaga County's next update on opioid overdoses will be released in 2 weeks, and they'll include deaths through September of 2020. The sum of 2020 will be reported in April.